Shona Craven from the National, and the former First Minister of Northern Ireland, Baroness Arlene Foster. Shona, Arlene, thanks both for being with us yet again. Let's get straight to the front of the Star here. Many of the papers are covering this story, but we've picked out the front of the Star for their reporting. Shona?
Yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot to take in. So, as most people will by now know, there is a suspect in custody in the shooting, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the Donald Trump ally. So the headline, "Cop Dad turns in Kirk Sniper," which they've put in quotation marks. But I mean, if you look at the American media, there's very little suggestion of anything other than this is the guy, we've got him, was the statement yesterday. And Donald Trump was asked what he thinks will happen next, and he basically said, well, I think he'll be convicted and I hope he gets the death penalty, which, as we were mentioning earlier, is implausibly enough by firing squad in Utah where this happened, which, I mean, that's actually news to me. I'm quite shocked by that. So, yeah, and the fact that this young man's father was a police officer as well adds an extra level to why this might be shocking, but then possibly gives you a suggestion of why he might have been trained in guns. Of course, many people in America of all ages are pretty good at shooting targets from a distance. So, yeah, there will be a huge amount more to come in terms of finding out about the motive and what led up to this, and of course whether maybe warning signs should have been heeded. But yes, the manhunt has ended and the suspect is in custody.
Yeah, Arlene, your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, it's a worldwide story, and everybody's looking at this. That's reflected in the newspapers this morning. But it's a terrible tragedy for Charlie Kirk's family, apart from all of the other reasons why it's a terrible tragedy. And his widow spoke overnight and said that she will keep his legacy alive. And she also give us a little insight into the heartbreaking scene when her little 3-year-old asked, "Where's Daddy?" How do you cope with that sort of thing? I mean, it's just horrific. And behind all of this, there's a little family that is absolutely grieving.
Yeah, as a young man, 31, young family, it's a horrible situation. All right, let's move on to politics here. I think you're going to start us off with this one.
Yeah.
The Daily Telegraph got this reporting on Andy Burnham.
Yes, Andy Burnham seems to be becoming very much the front runner for taking over from a job that's not available. Of course, the leadership of the Labour Party, and he's launching a new body called Mainstream, which apparently is a network of members who are critical of Sir Keir, according to the Daily Telegraph. And they are saying that they would introduce wealth taxes, nationalisation of utility companies, and an end to the two-child benefit cap. So very much setting himself out as an alternative. And of course, he's not a member of Parliament, so that's his first job, to find a seat.
Get himself elected again.
Yes, exactly. So that's all developing, and of course will be the main story, unfortunately, for Sir Keir Starmer on the run-up to the Labour Party conference.
Yeah, which I'm just Googling, but I think I'm right in saying it's in Liverpool, isn't it? Is it in the north?
Yes, it is in the north.
It isn't?
Yes,
OK, well, perfect for the King of the North then, isn't it?
Exactly.
Shona, what do you think?
Yeah, well, as Arlene says, you know, the position is not vacant as such yet, and also Andy Burnham, as we know, has a job. He is the mayor of Greater Manchester, so I wonder what people of Manchester are thinking of this. The Telegraph suggests that one ally of Keir Starmer told the Telegraph they expect Mr Burnham to launch a leadership challenge as soon as next May, when Labour is expected to take a drubbing at the local Scottish and Welsh elections. So Andy Burnham has previously said he's committed to the role of mayor till 2028. So we'll see how that pans out. And of course, this is amid double controversies, Angela Rayner resigning and then Peter Mandelson being sacked. And that's due to his links to Jeffrey Epstein, which he seems to be suggesting were well known. So that has definitely made Keir Starmer look like he's made some quite questionable decisions in backing Mandelson only to sack him. Yeah,
absolutely. Arlene, sorry, just before we move on to the next story, as a former leader of a party, once there is talk of Prince across the water, how sort of sunk are you as a leader?
Well, look, I mean, this is phase 2. Remember that? A couple of weeks ago, this much vaunted phase 2 that Keir Starmer said was coming along. He's had a disastrous couple of weeks. And I think if there were rumblings before all of this happened with Angela Rayner and Peter Mandelson, they are very loud now. And I'm sure there's critical conversations going on in Downing Street about you'll remember the Boris Johnson era of Save Big Dog. Well, this is something similar is happening, I would imagine, in Downing Street at present.
Very interesting stuff, and it feels like there are multiple shoes to drop on all of this, and we're going to keep across it, of course. All right, Arlene, let's move on to this story. I think it's in the Express, yeah, picture there of Dame Esther Rantzen, and this is about the debate that's ongoing in the Lords, which you are going to be a part of,
yes.
For the assisted dying bill.
Yeah, so the assisted dying bill has come through a private member's bill route, and because it has, there's no pre-legislative scrutiny, and as a result, we have a bill which, frankly, is not fit for purpose, and that was echoed by 2 Lords committees which have reported before it came to the floor of the House of Lords just yesterday. We're having a second day of debate next Friday, which I hope to take part in. Esther Rantzen has been the standard bearer for assisted dying. But what is interesting, I think, in this debate is that even people who are in favour of assisted dying are now saying that this bill is not fit for purpose. And you see that in some of the papers this morning. Baroness Faulkner has reflected on that, given that she actually was in favour of assisted dying and has now said this bill is not fit for purpose. So this is a discussion that will continue. It'll go then after next Friday into committee in the House of Lords for a number of days. So this is a story that's going to run.
Yeah, it is. I spoke to Lord Charlie Faulkner, who's taken it through the Lords yesterday, who obviously has the exact opposite view to you. He thinks
Absolutely.
it's strengthened as it's reached the Lords. You think there will be amendments and there'll be respectful debate, but he thinks it's as strong as it possibly can be. Jonah?
Yeah, and he's said in this story in the Express, we must do our job in this House, and our job is not to frustrate, it is to scrutinise. And of course, Esther Rantzen, as you say, has been campaigning on this with the Express, and it's unsurprising that she's, adding yet another sort of level to her argument. She's talking about fearing that she'll have to travel alone to Dignitas in Switzerland. Obviously, she has the money to go there. A lot of people wouldn't have the resources to do that, but what she's saying is that she wouldn't be able to take her family with her because they would be liable to being investigated by the police. So, yes, she's obviously going to... We'll hear more from her probably between now and next Friday.
You certainly will. All right, we're going to move on to another story here. We've got a high count of stories in this particular section, and this is a story I do want to get both your opinions on, because it seems as if this is actually gathering steam. Last week, we heard from, I think, Slovenia, Spain and Ireland saying that they would not take part in Eurovision this year, and now I think we have the Netherlands joining that chorus. Sorry to use that pun. Arlene, what do you think of this?
Well, I mean, I find this all bizarre. This is a song contest, and I was very uncomfortable last year when the contestant who was representing Israel, who had actually been at the Nova Festival on the 7th of October and had sheltered from being murdered, was treated so badly last year by the other contestants. I just thought it was really awful. And now we have a situation where people are saying, we're going to boycott Eurovision unless Israel is kept out of it. Ireland has said that as well. Phil Coulter, who is a singer-songwriter from Northern Ireland, who wrote the song Puppet on a String for the UK, has said that not only Ireland should leave, but the UK should also boycott. I mean, this is ridiculous. I remember the time when the Eurovision was a fun song contest, but now it has turned into a political mire, and I really regret that.
It has, Arlene, but let me just ask you this question, because many people do wonder why Israel's even in the European Song Contest.
You could make that argument, and I accept all of that, and you could make that argument about Australia as well, who are in the Eurovision Song Contest. But for some reason, it was widened out way beyond Europe, and the situation is where it is at the moment. But I have to say, bringing politics into song contests is really, really poor, I have to say.
Jonah?
Well, I think most people would agree the Eurovision Song Contest has been political in certain ways for a long time, and that it's often not really about the music, the way that people vote. But obviously, in the past, that's not been over such serious issues. I think part of the issue here is actually that Israel did win the public vote last year, which I think some people were quite surprised by and unhappy with. And I suppose you might say, well, why did people take part last year? Obviously, the assault on Gaza has continued, but it certainly was underway last time. So it says here in the Mirror that the European Broadcasting Union is in a state of alarm, having pushed back from October to December the deadline for broadcasters to confirm their participation. I'm not sure what's going to change between now and a couple of months' time. I think it's highly unlikely that they will say that Israel cannot compete in the song contest, obviously upholding this notion that it is about music
fun.
countries coming together, and it's not to do with politics.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that unfolds.
I mean, there's a picture there as well of what's happening in Gaza. One can only hope, I guess, that there is ceasefire, the war ends, and perhaps that could bring this together, but that doesn't look like at this point. Arlene, Shona, thank you for now. Of course, we'll have more from you later, and we'll be back with you very shortly after this short break. Stay with us.
Hear that whistle and that